Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. Welcome to Prodigy Bowlers Tour, episode 130, the 2022 Kansas City Open September Tournament in Division 5 from Olathe Lanes East in Olathe, Kansas. Today, 5 finalists compete head-to-head in a handicap stepladder where a player will keep advancing as long as they keep winning. In our first match, our number 5 qualifier, Grace Ryder of Pilot Grove, Missouri, will meet our number 4 qualifier, Jade Fleming of Peculiar, Missouri. The winner of that match will meet our number 3 qualifier, Lillian Fuhr of Plattsburgh, Missouri. The winner of that match advances to the semifinal where she'll meet our 2 seed, Joshua Schonifer of Chanute, Kansas. And the winner of that match will bowl for the championship against our tournament leader, Gage Wilkins of Blue Springs, Missouri. One of those 5 players will claim first prize scholarship money and will get to sign the coveted trophy pin. A few miles south and west of Kansas City, Missouri, sits Olathe, Kansas, a rapidly growing suburb in Johnson County. And one of the best things to do in Johnson County is go bowling at Olathe Lanes East, where Susan Lowe runs the best youth bowling program in the entire Kansas City area. On Saturday mornings, all 32 lanes are going with 4 youth leagues for kids of all ages and skill levels, and coaches to help them learn to enjoy the game and maybe one day become a tournament bowler. On today's edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, you're going to see 5 kids who are taking their very first steps into tournament bowling. Today, we'll be showcasing the kids in Division 5. The Kansas City Open has 5 divisions. On our last 2 shows, you saw the finalists in Division 1. Division 1 is the elite group of youth bowlers with averages of 200 and higher. Division 2 includes bowlers whose averages are 180 to 199. Division 3 is averages 160 to 179. Division 4, 140 to 159. And here in Division 5, the group we'll be showing you today, these kids all have averages of 139 and lower. At the KCO, only Division 1 bowls scratch. All the other divisions bowl handicap. The handicap is 90% of the difference between the player's average and the top end of their division. So today, our Division 5 players will all be getting handicap pins equal to 90% of the difference between their average and 139, rounded to the highest full number. Fractions are thrown out. You may be expecting nothing but little kids. But kids of all ages take up the sport of bowling, and as coaches, we welcome all comers. So the kids you see today won't be little kids. They're mostly teenagers, and most of them are just now getting interested enough in bowling to try and get good enough at it to have a go at competing in handicap tournaments. So I expect there'll be plenty of coachable moments today. Like with all divisions at the Kansas City Open, the players bowl 6 games of qualifying in 2 blocks of 3 games each, a morning block and an afternoon block. And then the field is cut to the top 5 for our stepladder finals. Here's how the qualifying round went down in Division 5. All the scores you see on the page include handicap pins. After the morning block, Joshua Schonifer seized the lead, with Bailey Coleman close behind and Jackson Shermley and Isabel Young not too far behind them. But by the time the afternoon block was finished, there was a huge reshuffling of the leaderboard. The 2 boys in our field today both held on to their spots in the top 5, and Gage actually climbed all the way to the top position, while all 3 of the girls in our stepladder had to make a move up in the afternoon block to get into the top 5. Any way you slice it, I know these 5 are glad to be here, and a few of them are bowling in their very first tournament. So this is pretty exciting stuff for them. So let's light the fuse on this rocket and strap in, because our contestants in match 1 are ready to go. Our number 5 seed, Grace Ryder, will meet our 4 seed, Jade Fleming. Now, I grew up here in the Kansas City area, so I knew of Peculiar, Missouri, the town where Jade lives, but I'd never heard of Pilot Grove, Missouri, where Grace lives. So I had to ask her where it is exactly.
Between Boonville and Arrow Rock.
Between Boonville and Arrow Rock. Okay. Well, I've heard of the Boonies. I've been to the Boonies. I've never heard of Boonville, never heard of Arrow Rock either, and I'd never heard of Pilot Grove until today. But that's okay. There's a lot of places I don't know about. Lovely places. I'm sure Pilot Grove is a lovely place. And as long as Grace and her parents can find their way home, I suppose that's all that really matters. Well, that and whether Grace and Jade can find their way to the pocket, that's front and center right now. Jade will lead off. Crossing over, she leaves the 1, 3, 8. And I imagine we'll get some leaves today that we're not used to seeing on Prodigy. Now you see on the score sheet their handicaps, both listed. We'll add those scores in the very first frame, so you don't have to keep track of it. Ooh. Well, that's a little unlucky. That's right where you want to hit the 1, 3, 8, but not sure what weight ball Jade is throwing. I would guess that's a lighter ball as it deflects left of the 8, and there's an open frame to start. Now, Grace Ryder on the right lane. And she leaves the mirror image of the 1, 3, 8. Here's the 1, 2, 9. Perhaps a little easier for a right-hander since she'll be hooking into it, although Grace doesn't throw much hook. You want to hit this on the right side of the 1 pin. Let the ball take out the 1 and the 9, and the 1 will take out the 2. Assuming everything goes according to Hoyle. Well, she plays it down the left side of the lane and only gets 1, so there's an 8 out. You see we're just adding their score in the first frame to their handicap, so 8 plus the 31 handicap gives her 39 in the first frame. And so she'll move over to the left. Now you see action on the pair to our left. You'll also see action on the pair to our right. That's Division 4 on our left on lanes 1 and 2, and Division 3 is bowling on 5 and 6 to our right. And a big pull there as Grace just clips off 3 from the left side of the rack, and we see a spare I can't say we've seen very often on Prodigy. The 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 9, 10. And as you might guess, you want to shoot this just as you would a strike. Put that ball right in the 1, 3 pocket, let it drive on through. But that one misses the head pin on the left, and she leaves a couple, so another open frame. Grace with a league average of 104. Jade has a league average of 121. Oh, my goodness. There's one we've never seen on Prodigy before. The Lily. Yikes. Here's how you make it. You'd need about a 6 or maybe an 8-pound ball. Throw a big hook at it, slide the 5 over into the 10, and hope that lightweight ball deflects over into the 7. With a heavier ball, it's next to impossible. Well, she hits the pin she had to hit, but that is 8 out, and we're still looking for our first mark of the match. That's okay. I bet we get a few. Jade is quite an athlete. She plays a couple of other sports in addition to bowling. She likes soccer and softball. That one looked pretty good for a long time, but it drifts just a little bit high, and she leaves the 6-10. You can see she gets her hand on the side of the ball, trying to give it a little bit of hook. She's got the idea. And there's a mark. So Jade draws first blood in this match with a spare in the 3rd frame. Now once again, Grace up on the right lane. Her high game is 238. And she gets a left-hander's wall shot. Goes Brooklyn and gets him off the wall. Watch this. This is a wall shot we don't often see from a right-hander, but watch the head pin. That's the one in front. It's going to go to the right wall and come back and get the 6. That gets a 5 and the 10. It's not how, it's how many. She got pretty good speed on the ball. And she goes right through the nose and gets them to explode. So there's a double. Watch the Jersey squasher, as we call it. Right through the nose, right on the head pin, and they just all fall down, some way, somehow. And a good shot by Jade. Strong follow-through on that one. As we'll get another look at it here. 5-step approach. Nice follow-through. Gets that one out to the right, out to about the 5 board. And that was the 2-pin that took out the 5. Yeah, she hoped for a Brooklyn that time, but it just got away a little too far on the left. And now she leaves a tricky little cluster, the 3-5-6. Spare, you don't see right-handers leave all that often, but she'll just move to the left, try to put the ball on the 3 and 6. And she just didn't get enough of the 3. You can make it on either side, but she was a little too thin on that pin in front and sends it around the 6, so another open frame. And Grace's lead grows to 36. These Division 5 kids have averages of 139 and under. And Grace with another strike. That gives her a turkey. That's 3 in a row. Watch this one. You got that little hop in her footwork. We'll take a closer look at that here in a minute, but a Brooklyn strike. And you know what? They count the same however they fall. One of the beautiful things about this sport, it's very binary. It's either they fall or they don't fall. Well, that ball looked like it was fading away from the pocket, and so there was no drive to carry out the 5. That's an old saying in bowling, no drive, no 5. But a fairly easy spare, the 5-8. You'd want to just stand where you stand for a strike, maybe a board to the right. Throw it right over your strike target at the arrows. And let that ball finish around the pocket. Maybe a little high in the pocket. She played that one down the left side of the lane. I would actually recommend moving right if you're going to move off of your strike target. But in any case, it's 9 out and an open. The lead is 32. And Jade's got to get busy. It drifts just a little bit high. She'll have the 6-10. She shot at this earlier and made it. You know, when the matches are low scoring like this, and when the players have lower averages, it's not about strikes. It's how many spares can you get. And that time she hooks by the spare and gets another open, and that will grow Grace's lead to 44. The fastest way for players at this skill level to raise their average is to convert 1 or 2 open frames to spares each game. It might be easier said than done, but for every open you turn into a mark, a spare, you raise your score by about 11 pins. Convert 2 open frames to 2 spares, and you've just raised your score by about 22 pins. That's without making even one more strike. There you go, Jade. Good cover of the 6-pin. She's had 3 6-pin spares, 6-10 or 6-pin, and she's made 2 of them, so that's good. But now Grace working on a 44-pin lead in the 7th. Runs by the head pin. Now, as you can see, Grace, her hand comes straight up the back of the ball, and that's why she doesn't hook it. The temptation is to get the hand way around the side of the ball. We see a lot of young players, beginners, get their hands way on the side or even on the top of the ball, and you don't really like to see that either. But if you're going to get the ball to hook any, you got to get a little axis rotation, and right now Grace has almost none. Makes it easy to control the direction that way, and that's why she makes that spare. You follow through right toward your target, and by golly, the ball ought to go there. If you're not getting any axis rotation. You see, she looks down at her feet to set her feet carefully. It's a great habit to be in. And then she picks out her spot at the arrows. And that's another pretty good shot right in the pocket. But because she throws that straight ball, in that case it looked like it was a little bit of a backup. It was fading to the right when it got to the pins. So it doesn't drive through like you'd like to see. If she would just work on her release a little bit and try to shake hands with the pins, as we say. She's got her hand behind the ball like you like, but then there needs to be just a slight rotation counterclockwise at the release. Good spare. Well done. Grace clearly in command of this match. But sometimes it doesn't take a string of strikes. Sometimes a string of spares might get it done. Boy, that was right in the pocket. It just didn't have enough oomph on it to pop out the corner pin. So Jade gets to shoot the 10. A spare she will see again and again in her life, as it is the most common spare for right-handers. And she just lets it fall off into the gutter. Those gray boards, they're pesky. Got to keep the ball off those gray boards. So the best Jade can do now is 177 if she throws 4 strikes. Grace is almost there. That's a Brooklyn that could have gone. She gets 9 and a wiggle. But that also lowers her potential final score to 167. Grace is sitting at 161 right now if she doesn't throw another ball. And Jade makes short work of that 5-pin. But now Grace can put an end to this right here. She just needs to keep this thing in the middle of the lane, and she can take a victory lap the rest of the way. Four pins on this ball will do it. There's 7, and that will put an end to that. So Grace wins our opening match here in the Division 5 stepladder at the Kansas City Open. She's got the 1-3-6. We'll stay with this match all the way to its conclusion. She's very careful and deliberate in how she sets up. But that one gets away from her, and there's an open in the 9th. Doesn't matter. She's already got the game in hand. Again, to our left on lanes 1 and 2, that's Division 4. And on the pair to our right, lanes 5 and 6, that's Division 3. There are 5 divisions. Division 2 is up there on 7 and 8, and on 9 and 10 to our far right, that's Division 1. You've already seen those guys. And Grace is going to show us a trick shot here in the 10th frame. Here's how you make the 6-7 split. Put the ball on the extreme right side of the 6-pin. Just graze it, slide it across the lane into the 7. We recommend shooting cross lane at this. moving your feet all the way over to the left side of the approach. But Grace is going to show us a different way. She's going to shoot this down the right side of the lane. We don't recommend this. And that's why. Missed just a little bit right, and that ball has no chance of coming back. But a 183 with her 31 pins of handicap added in. And that is more than enough to move on to match 2. But first, we'll see Jade finish out. You see how she's got her hand a little more on the side of the ball at release, so she gets a little bit of axis rotation, so that ball's going to hook a little bit for her. She's actually a little too far on the side. You want to stay behind the ball and then just rotate it slightly at the release. See how she moves left with her feet to shoot cross lane at this. And once again, she makes the 6-pin. That's several times we've seen her with that spare, and she's made it most times. So a strike here would give her 156 with her handicap. All right, it'll be 155 for Jade Fleming. Not bad, but it's Grace Ryder who wins the opening match, and now she'll face Lillian Fuhr coming up. So a 139 scratch game by Jade put her right at the top of the average spectrum in her division. But she was spotting Grace 15 pins, and Grace bowled a 152 scratch. So you add in the handicap pins, and Grace won in a rout. No doubt that turkey in frames 3, 4, and 5 helped her cause a lot. But Jade can be proud of the fact that she made the stepladder finals and bowled above her average. She's got some solid building blocks upon which to grow her game. But today, it's Grace Ryder who's moving on to match 2, where she's about to face Lillian Fuhr. The handicap situation will be a little different this time, as it's Lillian, not Grace, who's getting more pins. 17 pins more, to be exact. Lillian will turn 13 in December. Grace is 15. Lillian says her favorite moment in bowling is when she switched to two-handed, but wait till you find out why she did it. Ball doesn't quite get back. The 7 goes out late, leaving a somewhat easier spare, the 2-4-5. Well, Lillian switched to two-handed because she had a trampoline accident. She has 2 plates and 14 screws in her right arm. Yikes! I mean, just the thought of that gives me the willies. I don't know about you, but an open frame to start. And again, we've got the handicap listed there on the sheet, and that's added in the very first frame. So that gives Lillian 55 in the first. And Grace misses the head pin to the left this time and only gets 5. And here is one of the most difficult spares a right-hander can face that's not a split or a washout. The 1, 3, 6, 8, 10. I recommend shooting this down the left side of the lane, especially if you throw it straight like Grace does. and try to hit the left side of the head pin, knocking it into the 3 into the 6, the 6 into the 10. The ball would get the 1 and the 8. But she misses the head pin to the right and gets 8 out. A little tip for you beginners: every spare has a key pin that must be hit by the ball. And it's always going to be the pin or one of the pins that are in front, closest to you. With the 1, 3, 6, 8, 10, that's the head pin, the 1 pin. That pin that's in the front is the one the ball must take out. She missed it, so she missed the spare. That ball looked like it slipped off her hand a little bit. She leaves the 1, 2, and 9. We've seen this one before today. Shoot this one like a strike. Put it right on the 1, the right side of the 1, where the 3 would be if it were standing. Let the ball take out the 1 and 9. The 1 will get the 2. And she just doesn't get enough of the head pin to knock it back into the 9. So there's another open frame. I'm telling you, spares are where it's at, especially in matches like this. Oh boy. Well, there's an old saying in bowling: trust is a must, or your game is a bust. What that means is you got to trust that ball out to the right, that you're going to hook it back. And I guess it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyway, that the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you shoot this like a strike. And Lillian hooks it by the head pin and leaves a couple, so another open frame. But guess what? She started the match with a 17-pin lead in handicap, and she's still 15 ahead, so she hasn't lost too much. And I'll tell you what, if you got 2 plates and 14 screws in your right arm, it's amazing that she's even out there. We get 7. But it looks like that ball just tries to hook a little bit, and then it just rolls out. It doesn't keep hooking, what we call continuation. It hooks a little, and then it just loses all of its energy and just goes into a forward roll. She almost gets that spare, but just gets a little too much of the head pin and sends the 2 around the 4. So another open. Well, who's going to get the first spare of the match? Well, this is a very different side to junior bowling that really doesn't get the attention that I think it deserves. It's a big part of junior bowling when kids are still just trying to figure it out. That was a pretty good shot right there. And you can say what you will about Grace's straight ball. I'm not going to argue the point. She would definitely benefit from a little more entry angle, a little more hook on the ball. But she's playing an angle that's not too different from the one that was played by the top players in the world back in the 50s when everybody threw it straight. So you can definitely score by throwing a straight ball or a straighter ball than what we see so commonly nowadays with the high rev players and the big hooks. You go back on YouTube and watch some old 50s and 60s players, Dick Weber and players like that, and they weren't hooking it more than a board or two in some cases. And they were shooting big numbers. That one came off her hand pretty good. Pulled it a little, but a Brooklyn strike is still a strike. Here's her footwork. 4 steps. First one is the right foot, little cross over the left, but look at the hop. She is completely airborne here. Neither foot is on the floor, and I'd like to see her work on that. But you see her hand come straight up the back of the ball. I love how her left foot is perpendicular to the foul line. She's playing it pretty much straight up the middle of the lane. That one crosses over and she stuffs them straight back. Put the X on the scoreboard, scorekeeper. That one counts. There's a little bit of a hook by Lillian. Comes in just a little bit high and she leaves the 4-pin. Lillian's league average is 88. Her high game is 169. And that one just doesn't have quite enough to come back and get the 4-pin, so another open, and she's still looking for her first mark. Lillian says her favorite player is Kyle Troop, Afrofish. Uh-oh. Well, yeah, she looks like, okay, what went wrong there? You throw them like that, you turn back to mom. Lillian has an identical twin who I believe is also bowling in the field. Way out. And way back. How about that recovery? That's how it's done. Watch her approach. 4 steps. And look at this. She has no fingers in the ball at all. No fingers in the ball, no thumb in the ball, nothing. Just completely palming it. Big follow through. She goes airborne with her follow through, giving it all she's got. And here it comes. And that was the 2-pin knocking down the 5. How about that? Grace pulls that one a little bit, missing the head pin to the left. And now she's got the 1, 3, 6. Just throw a strike ball here. Put that ball on the 1 and 3 and make short work of this. How about it? There you go. Grace says Shannon O'Keefe is her favorite pro bowler. And we'll get another look at that spare shot that she just uncorked. Can't do it any better than that. She gets nice and low at the line. I'd like to see a little less bend at the waist and a little more bend of the left knee, but can't argue with the results of that one. And she trips the 6 with that time with a Brooklyn. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. A strike is a strike is a strike. 4-step approach, big push away, that little hop. And a little high on the head pin, but that 3 trips the 6. Thank you very much. That ball doesn't quite get up, and she leaves the 1, 2, 4, 8. Now, if Lillian will put her fingers in the ball, that's the middle finger and ring finger, she'll get the ball to finish more. She'll get more hook on the ball, more continuation. And I think in the long run, that's what she's going to want to do. But that said, there may be a good reason why she doesn't put her fingers in the ball right now. If she's not fully healed from her injury, that might put a little more strain on that arm. And I would be the last person on earth to recommend anything that would put a child's well-being at risk. And I would say consult with your doctor. But I've never known anyone to have much success bowling without putting some fingers in the ball. That's how you produce revs, and really that's how you control the ball. But it may be just one of those things that she has to wait until that arm is fully and completely healed. And she knew she didn't get that one out to the right far enough. And so another open frame, and now Grace with a big lead, and we'll see Lillian's reaction to this one. As soon as she lets it go, she knew, uh-oh, this is trouble. Didn't even have to look to know. Well, now that's an unusual way of leaving the washout. When the right-handers leave the 110 combination, it's usually because the ball doesn't quite get up to the head pin, but this one, completely different. Here's how you make the 110 washout. Put the ball on the left side of the 1 pin and throw it over into the 10. I call this the naked washout. You usually see the washout with the 2 and the 4, or the 2 and the 8, or at least the 2, but here you just get the 1 and 10. Too much head pin. And there's an open. And that tightens this match a little bit, down to 19 pins. Lillian's not out of it. With 3 frames left to go, anything can happen. The winner of this match will go on to face Joshua Shaunifer. And that one gets away from her on the right side. And she's got a tricky one here. A lot of ways to miss the 1, 2, 4, 8. Ideally, you want to put the ball on the 1 and 2 And that should do the trick. Maybe. There you go. That was perfect. There's really about 3 or 4 spares you need to know how to make, and the rest you can just make slight adjustments with your feet. Learn to make the 7 and 10 and the 5 pin, maybe the 1 and 2. Everything else is just an adjustment of 3 boards in one direction or the other with your feet. But develop a spare shooting system. Oh, look at this. Grace going with the backup ball. She had the right idea. Just overcooked it a little bit. But a nice try. As we hear her rooting section in the background. And that extra pinfall at the end, not so sure that was really that helpful. A 1-8, a bit of a tricky spare. You want to hit the 1 pin pretty solid, just a little left of center. I like the fact that she's going down the left side of the lane at it. Got a hook. Well, that's not what she had in mind. Spares, spares, spares. How many times have you heard me talk about it, and you've heard coaches everywhere stress the importance of spare shooting? And I'm telling you, at this level of competition, you're going to win more matches with spares than you are with strikes. As Grace has decided she needs to go rosin up. Well, that is some mean rosin bag she's gone after. I'm not sure exactly where she's gone. But there she is. She looks like she's ready to go now. Lillian with a possible 152 with 3 strikes in the 10th. Grace can claim this match with 1 more roll of the ball. Oh, look out. Well, I know that's got to be a little embarrassing for her, but no harm, no foul. Tell you what, there have been a couple of shots she's thrown so far on the bowlcast that it looked like the ball was slipping off her hand. Well, it slipped off her hand there. And I would recommend her getting that fit looked at by her ball driller. You see it a lot with junior bowlers. They outgrow the span or what have you, and they just need to get a thumb hole plugged and re-drilled, span adjusted, or what have you. But look at this. It would have been so easy for her to be embarrassed and just kind of lose it right there, but no. She just shakes it off, dusts herself off, gets up there, trips the 4 pin, and strikes like a boss. And that shot shuts out Lillian and wins the match. And she liked doing it so much, she went for seconds. How about that? Ball slips off her hand in her backswing, and she comes right back and throws a double. That tells me a lot about this young lady. She is one tough cookie. Unflappable. I guarantee you that was a Prodigy first. Have the ball come off her hand like that, but didn't seem to bother her. A little high that time, gets 8. So she's going to finish in the 190s. With the 31-pin handicap added in. And that's going to be more than enough to win this second match and send her into the semifinal. Now you see how she stands over, well, she was going to stand over on the left side. I like this angle a lot more. There you go. That's how you shoot the 4-7. So we'll stay with this match until it's finished. Lillian still will finish out the 10th frame. Even though Grace has already won it. Lillian leaves the unusual 1-3-10. She says she wants to grow up to be an animator. She's got the art thing going on in her life. And she can color herself proud to have made the top 5. And she will finish with a 131. But it is Grace Ryder who will meet this young fellow. Yes, indeed. Joshua Schonifer, our number 2 qualifier, is up next. Hey, Prodigy Land, it's me, Coach Randy. First, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to our GoFundMe campaign. You have helped us purchase our second camcorder, bag, tripod, and accessories that are enabling us to record not 1, but 2 stepladders simultaneously each month at the Kansas City Open, so we can bring you 2 new episodes of Prodigy Bowlers Tour each month. There remains just one piece of equipment we haven't yet raised enough to purchase, and that's the platform upon which to stand the camera and tripod, thereby giving us that perspective from above the players' heads so your view of the pins is unobstructed. On the show you're watching, we had to resort to the old-fashioned way of shooting, like we used to shoot all the early Prodigy episodes, with the tripod sitting on the floor. When we used to do this, a player would occasionally forget that there was a camera rolling, and they'd stand right in front of it, blocking your view of the pins. We eventually moved the tripod and set it up on the countertop behind the players, giving us a higher perspective. But it turned out those countertops were not as stable as they appeared, and whenever someone got up or sat down on one of the chairs that's attached to the counters, it would look to viewers of the show like we were experiencing an earthquake. In the end, these platforms made by IntelliStage proved to be an ideal solution. They're just the right height, and they isolate the camera just enough that it makes it less likely it'll get jostled, resulting in those shaky cam shots. With tax and shipping, these IntelliStage platforms run a little under $600. If you like what we do on Prodigy Bowlers Tour and would like to support it and help us deliver the high-quality shows that you've grown used to seeing, please consider chipping in to help us purchase that second platform. Go to www.gofundme.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour Camera 2 campaign. Now, I briefed our players on today's bowlcast and asked them to remember to avoid standing in front of the camera. So far, I think they've done a pretty good job, but the higher vantage point we get from having the camera up on the platform really makes the show look a whole lot better. But until we get it, we'll continue to do the best we can with what we've got. But please help us crowdsource the cost of this platform, won't you? Visit www.gofundme.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour Camera 2 campaign and contribute. Thanks. Considering the injury that Lillian is coming back from, I think she deserves credit for just showing up and bowling. She's obviously got plenty of room for improvement, but I love her attitude, and it's clear she's got plenty of support behind her. She's new to this two-handed thing, and the more she gets the hang of it, she'll just get better and better. But meanwhile, how about Grace bouncing back from that embarrassing dropped ball in the 9th? She could have fallen apart there, but instead, she just took a moment to gather herself, hit the rosin bag, and she got up and threw a strike to close out the match and slam the door. So, it's Grace Ryder who advances to match 3, where she'll face Joshua Shaughnefer. Joshua's average is up near the high end of the Division 5 limit, and he's only getting 2 pins of handicap, while Grace is getting 31. So Joshua better bring it this match if he wants to bowl for the title. But he's capable. In qualifying today, he uncorked a couple of 200-plus games. He'd love nothing more than to dial one up right now. This young fella started bowling at the age of 4. And that one comes in a little light. He leaves the 2-5. Joshua's dad has a brother named Randy, and Uncle Randy owns the only bowling alley in Chanute, Kansas. So Joshua's got connections in the business. He can practice all he wants at C&H Lanes in Chanute. I think they've got 8 lanes there. And you can tell by watching him, he's done some practicing. Young fellow is 13 years old. They grow him big in that part of the state. All right, Grace Ryder. Already 2 match wins under her belt. Her confidence has to be buoyed somewhat by that. Getting net 29 pins in handicap differential this game. That one slides off her hand a little bit, and she leaves the baby split, the 310. Here's how you make the baby split. You put the ball on the right side of the 3-pin. The ball will deflect over into the 10. But more importantly, you want to stand at the far left side of the lane. That makes the gap between the 2 pins smaller. You see, if you stand over on the right side of the lane, you could put the ball right between them and not get either one of them. If you threw a little more hook than Grace does. She goes down the right side anyway, and, well, that's what happens. They appear to be a little farther apart when you play it down the right side of the lane. It's just a better angle. You give yourself an easier shot if you go with the 310 from the left side of the lane. So there goes part of her lead. as she moves over to lane 3. And that one, too, seemed to fall off her hand a little bit. I believe that there's a fit issue with Grace's ball. And I would take her to the nearest ball driller and have that checked. The 5-8. Stand where you would normally stand for a strike. Maybe nudge your feet a board or two to the right. And throw it over your strike target at the arrows. Oh, well, that's why you want to throw a slight hook at the 5-8. You'd almost never chop the 5 off the 8 if you were a right-hander throwing a hook. But a straight ball coming at it from the left side of the lane like that, and you really don't give yourself the best chance. Well, Joshua's going to wipe that ball off because that's what he sees the big kids do. The scratch bowlers down in Chanute, they'll wipe the oil off the ball, and that's a good practice to get into. He's set to go. And he leaves the same spare that Grace had, the 5-8. Now Joshua does throw a little bit of a hook. And so I'm willing to bet he won't chop the 5 straight back off the 8. It'd be almost impossible for him to do. Boy, he hit it in almost the same spot, but because the ball was coming from the right, he managed to get the 8 to fall as well. So now the lead has shrunk down to 9. And most of Grace's advantage through handicap is gone. We've got this match down to just within a mark. Both of these young people have learned enough to at least set their feet before they go. That's important. And this one goes high, and he leaves the 3-6-10. And I'll tell you, the 3-6-10, a little bit like the 3-10, the farther left you stand, the less chance you have to chop the 3 off the 6. But he's going to shoot this down the right side of the lane. And as long as you hit both the 3 and 6, you should be okay. And he gets them all. So 3 frames, 3 spares for Joshua. But for the time being, Grace continues to lead this match. And I suspect she's going to need a few more marks this game. Oh boy. Well, that one got away from her in a big way. And somehow she pulled the 4, 7, 9, 10 out of the rack. That is an unusual way of getting 4. But you shoot the 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8 just as you would a strike. Put the ball right on the 1 and 3. Just like that. Well done. I think she's going to need a few of those in this match against Joshua. Grace says she wants to grow up to be a nurse or a pediatrician. Good for her. Helping other people, I'm all for that. And there's a strike. Watch this one. She's going to come in a little bit high with the 2-pin. The third one from the left is going to go to the left wall and come back and get between the 7 and 4 and knock them both out. Joshua just needs to keep doing what he's doing. Okay. Puts it in the pocket. Ball doesn't have enough drive to carry out the 5-pin. But that's okay. That's an easy spare. Just throw your strike ball. He almost ran by it, but some people look at a single pin spare and they think, God, it's just standing up there all by itself. It's so easy to miss, but really you have more area of the lane that you can roll that ball and convert a single pin spare than any other multiple pin spare there is. And that 5-pin being right in the middle of the lane, you got all the room you need. Joshua carefully sets his feet, looks up, picks out his target, and goes. And he rips the rack. That's the first one of those we've had today. Take another look at his game. 5-step approach. See, he swings it out away from his body and his hand way out at the right side of the ball, and then he'll reroute it to the inside. Hand is on the outside. I'd love to see it more behind the ball where you see the green line. But he's in good position here. Pulls up a little bit at the line. You see how his knee has straightened out? I'd like to see him stay down a little bit longer, but can't argue with the results of that one. And that's as good a shot as you're ever going to want to throw. And Grace, that time a little high on the head pin, leaves the 3. And I think she has decided she needs to go back and hit the rosin bag again. So while we wait, I'll remind you that we will be in Gladstone, Missouri on Sunday, October 2nd, where we will tape 2 more episodes of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. We'll tape Division 1 and 1 other division to be announced. And the first of those shows will drop about 10 days later, give or take. And then the second show will drop a couple of weeks after that. And we'll be sticking to that schedule for most of this bowling season. Now, there are 2 months each year during the Kansas City Open season that they do 2 tournaments in the month. One of them an adult youth. So we'll be busy editing shows that month. We'll have 4 episodes in 4 weeks after we tape those shows. All right. Grace had to go chop down the rosin tree, I think. But she's back now and will shoot at the 3-pin. And I'd say that was worth the wait. And that's what she's got to keep doing, is just making spares. That's how these matches will be won or lost, is with spare shooting. Joshua clean through the first 5 frames. Not an open on his scorecard. Grace in the pocket. And you can see how that ball, starting from the middle of the lane, kind of fades a little to the right to get to the pocket. And since there was no hook, it couldn't drive through and get the 5. It's going to deflect to the right around the 5. And that's what she leaves. But she will align herself to go right down the middle of the lane and try and cover this single pin spare. And she got it. And if she keeps doing that, Joshua will need to throw a double somewhere along the way to pass her. He's got a strike working, so this is a golden opportunity for him right here. Oh, he threw that one good. He caught all of it with his fingers when it came off his hand that time. That is just what he was looking for and just what the doctor ordered. Watch this one. See that little extra rotation he gave it at the bottom? This is going to be high flush. And this match is down to just 2 pins. And he pulled that one and pays the maximum penalty, going through the nose, leaves the 4-7-10 at the least opportune moment. He had a chance to take the lead if he'd gotten another strike there, but here's how you make the 4-7-10. Hit the left side of the 4, slide it all the way across the lane into the 10. The ball will get the 7. And I would say at this juncture, you just go ahead and go for it. But he's well right of target there, gets 9 out, so an open frame and back to the drawing board for Joshua. And now he will just hope that Grace has an open frame of her own to keep this match close. But now Grace working on 4 marks in a row. If she can keep that string going, she'll be tough to catch. Gets a piece of the head pin going left. Leaves the 3-5-6. Normally, with a right-hander that throws a bit of a hook ball, you'd like to see them hit the 3 and the 6 with the ball. But you can make this spare on either side. But we talked about the key pin in spare shooting. That's the one in front. The ball has to knock down the key pin, so she's got to hit the 3 pin with the ball. Oh, she does, but she hits it a little too thin, knocking that 3 in front of the 5. So there's the open frame that Joshua was hoping for, and that keeps this match tight. Just 3 pins separating the 2. So it's anybody's ball game now. With 3 frames left, it's who can close their frames here as we finish it out. Another one that looked like it slipped off her hand. Misses the head pin on the right. Leaves the choppable 1, 2, 4. Ideally, you want to put the ball on the 1 and 2 here. So wherever it is you stand for your strike, just move your feet about 3 or 4 boards to the right of your strike position and throw it over your strike target at the arrows, and you should be right there. Oh, she makes it on the outside. Not the way we would recommend, but take it. And that'll force Joshua's hand. He's got to stay clean here to stay close. As much as I love watching a high-scoring match, these lower-scoring matches that are close are very interesting. Oh, no! Well, he just left the 4-7-10. Here's the flip of it, the 6-7-10. Put the ball on the right side of the 6, slide it over into the 7. Ball will get the 10. This is a little easier for a right-hander, but there's nothing easy about it. About a 10-to-1 shot for the pros. Well, you're not going to make it that way. So back-to-back opens for Joshua, and once again he slips farther behind. Can't keep that up. He was clean through the first 6 frames of this match. If he could get marks in the 9th and 10th, I would bet that he'd be close. Oh my goodness. Well, if he didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. That Brooklyn hit could have scattered him, but instead he leaves the unusual 5-10. It can be made. Put the ball on the left side of the 5, slide it over into the 10. You're going to move your feet about 5 boards right of your strike position to go for this. Got a hook. And that's 3 opens in a row. And now Grace takes a commanding lead. And she's got the hammer in her hand now. The best Joshua can do is 177. Grace is going at a 194 pace. She needs a mark somewhere to lock this up. Well, there's a mark somewhere. And now she can finish this thing off with good count. Watch this. A light shaker. How many times have you heard me say it? I loves me some light shakers. Good count, and she can put this in her column. That's good count. And that is winner, winner, chicken dinner. Giving Joshua no chance. You see that ball slip off her hand, but as long as she has it going in the right direction, I'm telling you, as much talk as there is about revs and power in this game, direction is always going to be 90% of bowling. She goes high with that one and gets away with it, gets 9. it's academic now. She's going to shoot a 203 if she converts this. Joshua had a couple of 200 games in him during qualifying. He needed one here, but instead he had one thrown at him. And you see once again, Grace is shooting at this down the right side of the lane. She needs to learn about shooting cross alley at these corner spares. Move well left to shoot at right side spares. Move to the right to shoot at left side spares. She'll learn. And Joshua will just try to salvage a better score here in the 10th frame. He's going to go ahead and wipe down his ball like this matters. It's okay. You don't want to get out of the habit of doing the right things, so I applaud that. Hold it. Oh my goodness. Another 5-10. Well, this just obviously wasn't to be for Joshua today, but he sure bowled well for the first 6 frames, only to have the floor fall out from under him in the last 4. Well, show us a trick shot here. He gave it a ride, but that is 6 clean frames and 4 open frames, not what he wanted. It's Grace Ryder who's going to bowl for the championship against Gage Wilkins. Man, Joshua Schonifer has got to be kicking himself. He had a chance to win that match. He had Grace's lead down to just 2 pins with a double working, only to close with 4 straight splits. If instead of finishing with 4 opens, Joshua finished with 4 marks, this match would have come down to just a few pins, and it could have gone either way. But now the question is, can anyone slow down the Boonville Express? Just one young man now stands between Grace Ryder and the KCO Division 5 title today, and Gage Wilkins may be just the one to stop her in her tracks. At least that's what he hopes. Gage kept getting stronger all afternoon in qualifying, finishing with scratch scores of 161, 170, and 181. Meanwhile, Grace has got to be brimming with confidence after 3 straight decisive wins in the stepladder. No matter what happens, it's a safe bet that neither one of these two will ever forget the next 25 minutes of their life. Imagine this young fella's heart is racing. But he controls it enough to make a quality shot. And that is a strike to begin, and that'll help calm his nerves. Watch this. Watch the 2-pin. The third one from the left. The head pin is going to knock it back. It's going to get caught between the 5 and 8, and it nudges the 5 forward. Thank you very much. Well, that one sails off to the right. And Grace leaves the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. We've had a couple of spares like this today. You just shoot it like a strike. Put that ball right on the 1-3 pocket. But no, she chops the 1 off the 3, gets the rest of them, but 9 out to start. Well, we talked about the bowling center that Joshua's uncle owns in Chanute, Kansas, C&H Lanes. Here's where Grace bowls at B&J Bowl in Boonville, Missouri. Get a load of the retro above-ground ball returns. I love those old things. Couldn't quite make out from the pictures I found on the internet, but I think they have 14 lanes there. Well, finds the Brooklyn pocket, but leaves the 5-9. Now this one's a little easier to chop for a right-hander. Although she found a way to chop the 5 off the 8. Honestly, with any 2-pin spare, the best practice is to just touch both pins with the ball. That way you leave nothing to chance. But that's not going to get it done. She misses both to the left. And with that, her 18-pin handicap differential is gone. Gage takes the lead sitting on the bench. And for the first time today, Grace is now chasing. Gage finds the pocket with that one, but the ball doesn't have quite enough drive to carry the 5. Take a look at his footwork. There's something rather unusual I want to show you. His 4th step is a plant, and then a 5th step after the ball is gone with his right foot. And look how close it comes to fouling. He has to slide a foot or 2 behind the foul line. If he steps through with another step, see, he does it again there. Covers the spare. But you want to leave that trail leg and the foot on the floor behind you. He might occasionally foul with that right foot. That wouldn't be any good. But he's got some good basics to work with here. And he puts it right in the pocket. Nothing the pins can do there but fall. On a perfect strike, you touch the 1, 3, 5, and 9 with the ball, and everything else is a chain reaction. We'll get a better look at his reaction to it here. He steps through it again with that right foot. Got to watch that. He loved it. All right, Grace has got her hands full now. That one slides off to the right, and she's left herself another pesky little spare, the 1-2-7-8. See it every now and then. You shoot it just like the 1-2-8. The one bad break you can get is to leave the 7. But you put the ball on the 1 and 2. The ball's got to drive through and get the 8. And the 2 needs to get the 7. Or you can have the ball deflect off the 2 into the 7, and the 2 gets the 8. Couple of ways to make that spare. It doesn't matter how, it's how many, and she covers it. And that keeps the match within a mark. Just 5 pins separating these two. But with her handicap differential now squandered, Grace has got to do this on her own the rest of the way. Another one that just looked like it slipped off her hand. That could be a fitting issue. It could be that her hand is just getting a little tired. It's a lot of bowling for a young person who's not used to bowling that much. 6 games of qualifying, and now this is her 4th stepladder match. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And she leaves the 5. So another open frame, and that will widen Gage's lead to 22. And he's got to strike up, so he can expand the lead here. And that's exactly what he does with a solid strike, and he gets a big smile out of it. Watch it again. He pulled this one a little bit, but it'll set in the oil. Not many revs, but when you hit it here, it doesn't really matter. 32 pin lead. Now that one crosses over, and he nearly mixed them up and got them all, but the 9 pin remains. Well, here's the bowling center that Gage bowls at in Blue Springs, Missouri, Lunar Bowl, where they have something of an otherworldly motif. It's a nice place. Look out. Oh, man, I thought that was gone.
All right, we've officially got 9 through 32.
But Gage
so we are going to go ahead.
Covers the 9 pin.
You guys started for practice.
We hear the PA announcement letting the league bowlers know that their lanes are now ready for warm-up. Grace contemplates what lies ahead, and I think she's going to go hit the rosin bag again. Well, you got to be ready. All day long, Grace has been leading, and everybody else has been chasing her, and now she is in an uncomfortable position of having to chase from behind. That was a pretty good shot. Just a pinch high. And the ball just cuts through the rack and leaves the 4-9. Here's how you make it. Slide the 4 over into the 9. You just got to touch the very left edge of the 4 pin to get it done, but it is a beautiful thing when it happens. She needs to go for this. She can't afford to fall any farther back. But she gets the wrong side of the 4-pin, and now the lead is 42 halfway through this championship match. And I'll tell you what, when strikes are scarce, it's hard to come back from a 42-pin deficit. But when scoring is low, sometimes the leader will come back to you. That's got to be what Grace is hoping for. You never want to root against your opponent, but she's in a tough situation right now. Right through the nose. That could have been a split, so you got to count that as a good break. She leaves just the 6. We've talked about single pin spares being the easiest spares there are. She needs to take advantage of that here and not let this get away from her. We don't recommend shooting right corner spares down the right side of the lane, but that's the way she goes at these. And this time she covers it. And boy, she needed it. Gage just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He's been clean through 5 frames. That one misses the head pin to the left, and now he's got a difficult spare, the 1-3-6-10. This is one you don't see right-handers leave all that often. It's kind of the left-hander's fence, but again, you shoot it like a strike. Put the ball in the 1-3 pocket, and just like with a strike, the 3 should get the 6, the 6 gets the 10. Oh, a bit of a bad break, but he hit a little thin on the head pin, so that sent the 6 into the gutter in front of the 10, and well, an open frame. And now that 42-pin lead drops to 27. So you just got to shake it off, get up, and make another good shot. That was a good shot. And he leaves another pretty easy spare, the 4-pin. It's so easy when you go up by a big margin to let up, thinking you got this thing won. But you got to keep making the shots. Oh, look out. Oh, and he hooks by the 4. And look at this. Game on. The score sheet that the kids see above their heads does not have the handicap added in like what you're seeing. But they know what the handicap differential is. That is a solid strike at a well-timed moment. That may be the biggest ball she's thrown all day. Watch this one track right into the pocket. That 6-pin slaps out the 10. Oh, what she would give for another one right here. Yeah, that one slid by. And she's got the 1-2-8. Well, there are harder spares to shoot. There are easier spares to shoot too, but I can think of other spares I would rather not have to face in this situation. Put the ball right on the 1 and the 2, and you should get the 8. How about it? One time. That was clutch. So now Gage with a 16-pin lead. Finds the pocket again. It's really all you can ask of these kids at this point. You just keep making good shots. Leave yourself easy spares. There's no spare easier than this. The 5-pin. And he has no problem with it at all. So as we get down to the 9th and 10th frames, Gage with a 16-pin lead. Neither one of these youngsters has ever won a junior bowling tournament. And this is no time to be leaving clusters like this. The 1, 3, 6, 10. He had this earlier and missed it. He hit thin on the head pin and left the 10. Oh, are you kidding me? He plucks the 3-pin out of that and hands Grace the lead. It wasn't all that long ago. Grace was trailing by 42 pins, and now she has the lead as she steps up in the 9th frame. Boy, talk about a roller coaster match. Grace began with an 18-pin handicap differential, eventually fell 42 pins behind, and now she's back in the lead. Working on a spare. Gotta watch her count. Well, there's an 8 count, and that hands the lead back to Gage. But it's just a 1-pin match. And boy, if ever there was a time to make a clutch spare, we're down to it now. We talk about making clutch strikes in the Division I matches, but in Division 5, spares will win you matches. Good shot. Well, you like a close finish. Watch this. Straight back, straight through, that follow through, straight toward her target. And there's no place else for the ball to go but right where she intended it. And yeah, I would definitely hit the rosin bag now. This is not when you want to have one slip off your hand at the top of your swing like we saw earlier today. Working on a spare, obviously, count is everything. Oh man, oh man. Talk about heart-stopping action. That was looking like it was going to be a 4-5-7, which is very difficult to convert. Instead, she breaks it down to a single pin spare, just the 7. And if ever there was a time to summon up all the accuracy you can muster, this is it. She got it. So now it's down to the fill ball. If Grace can throw a strike here, she'll force Gage to fill 19 in the 10th to beat her. She can't shut him out, but she can take him to the edge. Once again, neither one of these kids has ever won a junior bowling tournament. I'm sure neither one has ever been in this situation before. So close they can taste it. So an 8 count. And Grace finishes with a 175. Gage, who says he's good at math, I'm sure he's already figured out he needs to fill 17 in the 10th to win. Boy, that action off the sideboard didn't make this spare any easier. The 2-5 now sitting a little more spread than they normally would be. Gage has 2 older sisters, he tells me, so not much scares him. He needs to make this spare for a chance to win. No! And it slips by, so Grace Ryder has run the stepladder, and she has won the 2022 Kansas City Open September tournament in Division 5. Gage had her down by 42 pins and let her off the hook. But the pride of Boonville, Grace Ryder, will sign the coveted trophy pin. Well, let that championship match stand as evidence that even 139 and lower average bowlers can produce competition that will have you on the edge of your seat to the very end. Gage looked like he had the title all but wrapped up. But as we preach again and again in bowling, spares, spares, spares. Especially at this level, matches and indeed titles are won and lost on spare shooting. Let that serve as a lesson to every bowler watching to practice your spares. I'll bet Gage will, and Grace came through in the clutch, not with key strikes at critical moments, but with crucial spares when it mattered the most. And that's how she won this championship. And because of that, she not only claims the winner's share in Smart Scholarship money, but she also gets to sign the coveted trophy pin. It's Grace Ryder, ladies and gentlemen. She just ran the stepladder in Division 5. First time we've covered Division 5 at the Kansas City Open on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. How does it feel to be a champion?
I don't know.
You don't know?
Tired.
You're so tired. It's been a long day, hasn't it? 6 games of qualifying. Did you bowl in the first squad this morning?
No, I bowled in the second.
So your first game started at what, about 9 o'clock this morning?
Well, the times were off, so somewhere around like 10-ish, maybe.
It's any way you slice it, it's been a long day. So here's the deal. Kansas City Open now being covered by Prodigy Bowlers Tour each month. And one of the things we do on Prodigy, this is our 7th season doing the show. And one of the traditions on Prodigy is that the winner on each show gets to sign the coveted trophy pin. We've already had one signer in Division 1. Now it needs your name and today's date, which is 9/11/2022. So just put your first and last name on there and today's date. And then at the end of the season, all the winners who have signed the pin are invited to our Tournament of Champions, and the winner gets to claim the pin. And you're qualified, so congratulations, Grace, way to go. On our last episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we brought you the Division 1 finals at the KCO September 2022 event. And for those of you who haven't yet watched that episode, I won't spoil it for you here. You can click on the link at the end of the show to be taken to that episode. We also revealed at the end of that show the results in Division 2, so I won't spoil that either. But on today's show, you saw Division 4 bowling to our left and Division 3 to our right. Here's how their championship rounds played out. In Division 4, that was the group to our left, Leanna Larson bested Taylor Schick in the opening match and then got by Alina Miller in match 2 before running up against Caden Ball in match 3. Caden won their match and then dropped a little 200 game on tournament leader Bryce Isaacson to claim top honors in Division 4. And over in Division 3, that was the group on our right today, left-hander Layla Gonzalez was on fire all day. She won her first match against Olivia Fonseca 242-184. Then she defeated Camden McAndrews 237-168 and Braxton Burnau 222-179. But in the championship match, Layla ran into a buzzsaw in tournament leader Cooper Farmer. Cooper dropped a cool little 267 scratch on Layla, winning the title by the handicap final score of 282-198. And of course, our winner in the featured division today, Division 5, was Grace Ryder as she ran the stepladder today, claiming first place in D5 by a final score of 175-167 over Gage Wilkins. The next stop on Prodigy Bowlers Tour is Gladstone, Missouri, as the Kansas City Open's October tournament will be held Sunday, October 2nd at Gladstone Bowl. And we'll be covering both the Division 1 finals and one other division to be announced. If you're interested in bowling in the KCO, visit their website at www.kansascityopen.com to find their complete season schedule and to download an entry form. Until our next episode, this is Coach Randy saying thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit our GoFundMe page to help with the purchase of that second platform. The address again is www.gofundme.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour Camera 2 campaign. Thanks for watching. Now, go get your bowl on.